and I'm going to bring you all the latest updates that made the headlines on different newspapers and on various digital platforms. So as always, as it has been a usual drill, let's just begin with some cricket news, and it's some great news for the Australian cricket team because Josh Hazlewood, their star seamer who missed the second test in Adelaide due to a mild side strain, is set to return for the third test at the Brisbane in Gabba. Well, Hazlewood, his services were missed dearly by Australia, but then Scott Boland, who replaced him, he made sure that he stepped up to the plate, took a total of 5 wickets across 2 innings, and that proved to be instrumental in Australia's 10-wicket win over India that made sure that they drew level in the 5-match series. So now, if Hazlewood does return for the third test in Gabba, who could really make way for him? Well, if reports are to be believed, then Scott Boland will actually make way for him. It's going to be tough for Boland, but then Hazlewood has been their premier seamer, has been a part of their first choice 11 for well over a decade now, and that's what is going to be the case with Australia, assuming Hazlewood is fit as far as his 100% fitness is concerned. Well, moving on to more cricket news here, there have been a lot of things that have been said by a lot of experts as to what India should do in the remaining 3 test matches of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, starting with the third test in Gabba on December 14th. Well, someone has said that India should show more resilience, well, whether it's the case of temperament also. But then Sunil Gavaskar has also shared his views as to how India should go about their business in the remaining matches of the all-important Border Gavaskar Trophy. And when asked by Spots today that whether India should persist with Bumrah for all the 5 matches, well, his workload is obviously a concern. Gavaskar has said that India should play Bumrah in all the remaining matches. Well, there are still doubts whether Mohammad Shami would make it to Australia or not, but then as far as Bumrah is concerned, he is the spearhead of the attack. His workload is genuinely a cause of worry, but then Gavaskar wants that India should continue with him. Well, there's a proper interview that we have done with Mr. Sunil Gavaskar. You can check out the Sports Today YouTube channel for that full interview and obviously all the latest updates surrounding the BGT. Well, moving on to more cricket news here, the second South Africa versus Sri Lanka test at Port Elizabeth in Haibeha is set for an exciting finish. Well, batting first, South Africa scored 328. In response, Sri Lanka were bundled out for 328, giving South Africa a 30-run first innings lead. And then South Africa cashed in on it and scored 317. Well, in response, in the chase of 348 or 349, Sri Lanka were about 120 odd for 5, but then they have been rescued by Kusal Mendes and their skipper Dhananjay De Silva, and Sri Lanka ended the previous day on 205 for 5, requiring another 143 odd runs to draw level in the 2-match series. Well, remember, this is a must-win test for Sri Lanka because if they lose this, then they will be eliminated from the competition as far as a place in the World Test Championship final is concerned. We have done an exhaustive video on the WTC final scenario. You can check it out on Sports Today. Well, moving on to more cricket news here. Well, Sharfane Rutherford, he scored a century in the opening ODI between West Indies and Bangladesh that made sure that West Indies won that game comfortably by 5 wickets. Well, batting first, Bangladesh scored 294, but in response, West Indies, they lost a few wickets in the middle, but then they were rescued by Rutherford's brilliant century, and at the end, they made sure that they sealed the deal with 5 wickets remaining. Now, it's a 3-match ODI series, and the second ODI is going to take place on Tuesday, that is December 10th in St. Kitts, and that's going to be a last chance for Bangladesh to draw level in the 3-match series. The 2-match test series, well, it was tied 1-1, and after the 3 ODIs, the 2 teams will face off in as many in T20s. Well, Devon Conway will miss the third and final test between New Zealand and England at Seddon Park, Hamilton, due to the birth of his first child. New Zealand have drafted in Mark Chapman as Conway's replacement for the third and final test. Well, remember, England have already won the series. They have already taken an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series, and they would look to make sure that they complete a series sweep. New Zealand, on the other hand, would want to salvage a consolatory victory and at the very same time give a winning farewell to Tim Southee. Well, remember, both England and New Zealand are already out of the WTC finals race. Well, also the WPL auction, the Women's Premier League auction, is going to take place on December 15th in Bengaluru. The timings of the auction are 3 p.m. IST. Well, a total of 120 players have registered for it, out of which 91 are Indians and the remaining are from overseas, including 3 associate players. Well, now let's just see what the newspapers really have to say here. There's a bit about the Under-19 Asia Cup final. Well, India, they did manage to reach the final, but then they couldn't really surpass the Bangladesh challenge, and they suffered a massive 59-run defeat in the final. The Vaibhav Suryavanshi, youngest IPL crorepati, he couldn't really step up to the challenge, and as a result, Bangladesh completed a comfortable win over Men in Blue. Well, obviously, England won the second test against New Zealand. Then McLaren, they clinched the Constructors' title as far as Formula 1 is concerned. Lando Norris, he ended McLaren's 26-year wait for the F1 Constructors' title as he won the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Then Sri Lanka, South Africa, there. Obviously, there's a bit about the women's cricket too, that India have lost the ODI series against Australia. That's basically happening on the Australian shows. India lost the first ODI also, and then in the second ODI, Australia scored 371 for 8, but then India, in response, they could only manage 249 for 5. There's also a bit going about the chess also, that Gukesh is in the lead now. He has taken a 6-5 lead against his opponent Ding Liren in the World Chess Championship. There is going to be another round of match today, and it's headed for another enthralling finish. Well, stay tuned to Sports Today as we'll bring you all the latest updates and analysis